Welcome back. I haven't done this in a while. You haven't heard this in a while. So turn to someone next to you and tell them, you look so great today. You look good today. You know what? It's good to be back. It's good to be back. There is nothing like being back to church. I haven't preached in a while. And by the way, can we thank all of our preachers who've been preaching for the last weeks? Can we give it up to my mom? She's not here. Auntie Juliet, she preached. Can we give it up for her? And also Pastor Rose, she gave us a message last week. I just thank God for just allowing me to just slow down and just recollect myself once again. Because it kind of feels like after the transition, things just been happening one after the other. Things have just been piling up. Like I transitioned, we got pregnant, anniversary, then the VBS and the youth camp, and then all the camping that you guys went to. And things have just, and we moved the stage, by the way. A lot of things have been back to back, and one thing after the other. And this is what this year kind of feels like, right? This year feels like there's just one thing after the other. There's not really a break in between. I like to recall, I'm a reminiscent guy, so I like to recall what happened in the year. In the beginning of the year, there was all these talks about all of these waves. Waves this and waves that. So that was our problem. And we had this desire for things to open back up again, fully open. Then as the year continued on, all these world conflicts started coming up. And because of that, gas prices went up. When the gas prices went up, we had a desire for it to go down. In the summer, one of our main problems in the summer is camping. Where are we going to camp? People who don't even camp, camped. People who doesn't even like the outdoors, camp. And I don't blame you, because after 2 years, you've been stuck at home. So that was this big problem. Where are we going to go out? Camping here and there. Or where can we go on a vacation? Can we go here or can we go there? As the year progressed, and now that summer is over, I think one of our main problems today is, for the kids, you're back to school. Thank God for school. But for many of us, I think one of the main problems we face today is inflation. Things are going up. Everything is going up. My mom always used to tell me, it's cheaper going to the groceries than eating out. I feel like it's the same now. And in many cases, eating out is cheaper than going to the groceries. I buy 4 items, it's $100. What am I buying? She's pregnant, by the way, so I can't complain about that. Everything is going up. I even went to the dollar store. They don't even sell things for $1 anymore. It's $2, $3. So our desire right now is for things to go back down. Inflation to calm down, interest rates to calm down. And this is what I realized within this year, or this is what I've seen within this year. No matter what it is, and no matter what we face, we always have this desire, or there's always something we're trying to crave after. Whether it be a good situation like summer, our craving is to go out, or a bad situation like the economy, we want it to calm down, there's always something we crave after or desire. And the thing is, even if one of the things we craved after is fulfilled, there is something else we crave after. And this brought me here in 1 John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17. Pastor Rose actually used this passage, and it really caught me here. It says this, "Do not love this world, nor the things it offers you. For when you love the world, you don't have the love of the Father in you. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievement and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever." So this is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about unsatisfied cravings. Unsatisfied cravings. Turn to someone next to you and tell them, what are you craving today? What's your craving? I already know many of you are thinking of what to eat after the service. What's your craving? Now, this week marks the 4th month of me and Chang in our pregnancy. Our 4th month. And it amazes me that I'm saying this because for years, just looking back, I wouldn't have thought this would be possible. And for years, I've been saying by faith to Chang, we're going to be pregnant. This year, we're going to be pregnant. And for 3 years, it hasn't happened. But today, I could say it's our 4th month being pregnant. And this really teaches me the importance of keeping the faith. Keeping the faith, because he who is faithful will do what he says. I've learned that believing by faith is not believing in the situation to be changed. Because when you do that, you will always be left disappointed. When you believe by faith, you put it in the person of Jesus Christ, the power of his word, the power of his spirit, and God will never fail you. I'm off topic. I haven't preached in a while. I have a lot to say. So anyways, it's our 4th month of being pregnant. And many of you came to Chang. And a lot of us asked Chang about her symptoms. That's the first thing they asked about Chang. How are your symptoms? And the first thing they asked her is, do you have morning sickness? The thing with Chang is that she doesn't have morning sickness. She kind of has food sickness. Meaning that there are certain types of food that will just cause her to throw up. It's like the texture of the food, she tells me. And it's true, when you are pregnant, your favorite food will become your enemy. For Chang, she loves sinigang. I tell her, if there's one thing you could eat in your whole life, will it be sinigang? She says yes. She can't eat sinigang. Every time she eats it, she throws up. But when I cook sinigang, she doesn't throw up. It's good to her. I don't know if that's a mental thing. But she doesn't have morning sickness. She just has food aversions. And another thing that they ask her, the second thing they asked her, they asked her this, do you have any cravings? And there's this big phenomenon with pregnant people that they crave certain food. And it's weird. It's different for each type of woman. They crave certain food when they're pregnant. So I've talked to many mothers, and I've even seen it in my sister. When my sister was pregnant, her craving was chocolate. And it came to a point, just for her safety, that I had to hide all the chocolate in the house. I put it on top of the fridge so she can't reach it. But because she craved after it, there's nothing that will please her but chocolate. There came a point where I found my sister trying to climb the fridge, pregnant, trying to get the chocolate. Other people, they have cravings for ice cream. They could finish a whole ice cream tub just in one sitting. That's not healthy. Other people, they crave a certain type of candy. And they just want this candy, not another candy, not Skittles, not that. I want this candy. That's the only thing that will please a pregnant woman. For the fathers here, you know what that means. When your wife is craving something, you go get it. There is no talking her out of what she craves. Now for Chang, she doesn't really have a certain food that she craves. She's weird. I think this is much worse. What she does instead is that if she looks at a food, she will start craving that food. So we're just going about our normal day. I'm just doing my daily chores and I'm just minding my own business. And she tells me, Mark, I want grilled cheese. I'm like, do you really want grilled cheese? Why do you want grilled cheese? I saw someone eating grilled cheese. I don't know how to cook it, so I went out to the grocery. I'm a good husband. I went out to the groceries, got all the cheeses, making sure they're pasture cheese just for her, so I could cook her grilled cheese. I thought her craving was grilled cheese, so I always buy all these cheeses and all these breads. I found out it's not her craving anymore. Then all of a sudden, she tells me, Mark, I'm craving Subway. Subway. Who here has ever craved Subway in their life? Subway, out of everything, Monday, Mark, I want ramen. Why ramen? Inflation. It's expensive to go to ramen. But again, a good husband, we went to ramen. The thing with Cheng is that also, there's no talking her out of what she craves. Because, she just looks at it and she starts craving it. I tell her, really, Subway? Out of all the restaurants in the world that I could bring you, all the restaurants, the Mediterranean food, Congee Queen, you want some burritos? I could get you burritos. Do you want any of this? Really, Subway? Subway out of everything? And she says, no, Mark, I just want Subway. There's no talking her out of what she craves. No other option will satisfy her by what she desires. Now, many of us today are not pregnant, and we can't get pregnant. For the guys, we can't even get pregnant, so we don't know what that is to be pregnant and crave. But all of us today are craving after something. Whether it be a specific time that you crave a certain food, or you're craving to go out on vacations, you're craving or have this desire to travel outside, go back to the Philippines, go back home, or you're craving or desiring after an answered prayer, or some of you you're craving for relationships, to get in one, or maybe for some of you to get married now, or for some to start a family. Maybe your desire is to have a home, you crave after a home, or you want certain job opportunities, or you're chasing after a certain degree. Whatever it is, all of us are craving or desiring something today. Who here is craving something or desiring something? Who here? Show of hands. Who here is desiring something? Wow, for those who are not desiring something, that's amazing. Can you teach me your ways? Like there's something we always desire. Again, ask someone next to you, what are you craving? The thing is, many of the things we desire, many of the things that we crave are usually the things that could be attained but the world offers. That's what we want. We want the things that the world offers. But my question is, when was the last time you craved about your calling? When was the last time you craved after the presence of God? Not just normalize it, just like, oh, we're in God's presence. Hi, God. And that's it. Like, when was the last time you craved after going to church? Remember back in the pandemic when you couldn't go here and you couldn't wait to receive a text from Pastora? When was the last time you craved going to church rather than church being a drag? When was the last time you craved doing His will rather than just running away from it because it got too hard? And that's what's so sad. For some of us, we lost cravings after our calling. And the reason why is because our calling is not light. For us, what our calling has become was, before it was a desire, but now it became a burden. And the reason why our calling is like this is because our calling always calls us to sacrifice ourselves. Sacrifice something that we have. I want you to look at this. For when you crave after something, it always points to us. When you crave after something, you always think about, how can I receive this? How can I receive that? How can I experience this? How can I be satisfied? How can I be happy? But when you follow your calling, it's no longer a question about us. It's a question about, how can I serve others? How can I serve? How can I please God? Our calling causes us to sacrifice. But in the same way, our craving calls us to sacrifice. And sometimes what we crave after, we sacrifice our calling so you could achieve what you want. This is why John says this in verse 15. Do not love this world nor the things it offers you. Do not love this world or the things it offers you. One thing your craving does is your craving distracts you from your calling. Your craving distracts you from your calling. Again, John says this, do not love this world. when I read this, it kind of confused me because in John 3:16, it says, "For God so loved the world." But here again in John, he's saying again, "But do not love this world." So I looked into it because it kind of confused me. And as I looked into it, the reason why John said, "Do not love this world," it's a type of love of affection. And what I mean by affection is that you give yourself to this one thing. That's what I mean by affection. You give yourself to this one thing. It's kind of like similar of what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. It says this, it's a similar type of language. It says this, "No one can serve two masters. You either will hate one and love the other." It's this, you see the language here? You will hate one, love the other. You'll be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And this is the same type of language that John is using when he says, "Do not love this world." He's basically saying, do not make this world your portion. Everyone say portion. Now you hear this word a lot in the Bible, that God became my portion. What it means is that this is my sense of being. This is what gives me life, my portion. This is what causes me to wake up in the morning, my portion. So John is not saying here, don't love the world. It's not like a literal type of thing. Don't love the world. It's not wrong to love the world. There's many things that we love that this world, that God has given this world. For example, anime. Thank God for anime. One Piece. Where would we be without One Piece? If you don't know what that means, talk to someone who just clapped right now. He will change your life. I love One Piece. Thank God for bubble tea. Who here loves coffee? Yes? Thank God for coffee. Some of you can't live a day without coffee. Your head start hurting. You have migraines without coffee. Thank God for coffee. Thank God for what He's created, the nature we get to enjoy. Thank God for the mountains. Thank God for the skies, the birds, the fish, the animals. Thank God for all of that. We get to enjoy what He's created, but that's the thing. You only enjoy it. You don't serve it. And that's why I think we mess up. We're not meant to we're not meant to fixate our affections on what God created. We're called to love God and enjoy His creation. But sometimes we get so fixated in enjoying the creation, we forget about the Creator. You're meant to serve the Creator, not the creation. But it depends. Everyone say, it depends. It depends. It depends where your affection is. Because wherever your affection is, that's where you serve. That's what you serve. My affection is for my wife, so I serve my wife. If you have affection for your kids, you serve your kids. You don't serve something that you don't have affection to. Try going to a job that you hate. I've seen that you will find excuses not to work while you're there. But if you love your job, you will do all you can to serve that job. Try going to school with a subject that you hate. Many of the students end up dropping that class. Try listening to a professor that you hate. For you students, you will intently try to avoid that professor, try to find other classes. You don't serve where you don't have affection in. And this is why John says, do not love this world. If I could phrase it again, it would be like this. Do not give yourself to this world, because when you do, it's hard to give yourself to God. As Jesus says, you can't serve both. You can't serve both God and money. You either give yourself to one or the other. There is something you have to sacrifice so you can serve it. And that's the things with our cravings. Our cravings distracts us from our calling. So again, we see here in verse 15, do not love this world nor the things it offers. Everyone say offer. Offers. Now that's all our cravings do. Your cravings will always appeal to you. Your cravings will always offer something to you. But that's all your desires and cravings can do. It can only offer it to you. It doesn't mean whatever it offers, that's what you need. It doesn't mean that. Some of us mistaken that whatever we crave after, whatever our craving offers, we think it's a necessity in our lives. It's not. It's just another option. Some of you, you think you need to be with someone. The only way I'll feel whole in my life is that I have that person in my life that will love me, that will marry me, that will give me kids. You don't need it. What you need is love. And if you just look around you, you are loved. You're always looking for someone to love you. You don't know that we have a church here that loves you. Welcome to Praise Christian Family Church, where you are. You're loved. And you need the love of the Father, not the love of someone else. If God loves you, He'll give you someone. Some of us were thinking, if I find someone, I'll love God. It shouldn't be like that. Again, what you desire after, what you need, what you crave after, it's not a need. It's just another option. The things of this world, our cravings can only offer, but it's our decision to take what it offers. And the reason why we choose our cravings rather than our callings is because of this word called temptation. Everyone say temptation. Temptation. And this temptation, it pleases us. It gives us some sort of pleasing. It says here in John chapter 16, I'm going to read this in the NIV so we can compare translations. It says this in the NIV, for everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life comes not from the Father, but from the world. Now, I call this the triple threat. But the Bible, as it describes it, is the triple temptations of this world. And it's here, the triple temptations of this world. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. When you look into Eve, the reason why she fell into sin was because of these three temptations. The lust of the flesh, right? The lust of the eyes, the apple or the fruit looked nice. And the pride of life, becoming like God. That's what caused her to fall into sin. In the same way, these are the triple temptations that Jesus faced in the wilderness. The lust of the flesh, he was hungry. The lust of the eyes, the devil showed him the kingdoms of this world. And the pride of life, if you fall down, you won't be hurt to be like God. The triple temptations. But in the NLT, it says this instead. It translated here, verse 16. For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and the pride of our achievements and possessions. I find this interesting that temptations was translated as craving. Because when you think about it, it's almost the same. Temptations, what is it? Temptation is a strong desire that causes you to act. Temptations is also it captivates your being. That's all you think about. When you are tempted, that's all you think about in the moment. That's all you feel. Temptations is also a strong desire for a self-satisfying need. In the same way, what are cravings? Cravings causes you have a strong desire to act on something. Cravings, when you have it, it captivates your mind. That's all you think about. Cravings is a strong desire to satisfy a self-need. You have your own cravings. You don't crave someone else's cravings. You have your own cravings. Temptations and cravings, what it also is, are impulses. You become impulsive when you have these temptations or when you have these cravings. It causes you to chase after something. If you are an impulsive person, look at someone next to you. Do they look impulsive? Husband and wife, look at your spouse. Are they impulsive? When I say impulsive, they do something without thinking about it. They say something without thinking about it. They buy something without thinking about it. Have you ever bought something and you never looked at the price tag? You are impulsive. You didn't even think about it. Have you ever made a decision without thinking about it? All of a sudden, you just made a decision. You didn't even think of the consequences. Have you ever gotten into a relationship without thinking about it? I just love them. But think about it. Right? Think about it. You need to be careful when this happens. Because instead of us controlling our actions, what happens is that our impulses starts controlling our actions. Our temptations starts controlling us. Our cravings starts controlling us. Our desires starts controlling us. Some of us, we live our lives. Our lives are driven by what we crave and what we desire. Some of you, you're living your life chasing after something. You're chasing after a desire. You're chasing after a purchase. You're chasing after a degree. And you live your whole lives to chase after it. And the reason why is because when you get it, it will satisfy you. When I finally get it, that's when I can say, I'm satisfied. Nothing else can satisfy but that thing. This is what the Bible describes as pleasures. The pleasures of this world, or it pleases us. Look at it. Look at it. What are you chasing after in your life? Again, many of you said that you have cravings and desires. What are you chasing after in your life? And the thing is, 9 times out of 10, what you're chasing after is what you crave, what you desire, and your wants. But my question is, why isn't it our calling? Why don't we chase after our calling? Why is our calling taking a back seat to our craving? That when I satisfy this, whatever time I have left, I'll give it to my calling. Why is it that whenever we make a decision, a major decision in our life, we first address our desires, and then what's left, we look into our calling? You know what, church? When God made you with a purpose. God made you with a calling. He put a calling in you. I don't think God made you so you can satisfy your own vices or your own desires. I don't think when God was making you, He was saying, this person's life, his main goal is to get a home. I don't think that's His desire when He made you. God made you with a purpose. God put a calling in you. So why is it the first thing we ask about God is to fulfill our desires rather than our purpose? The Bible says this in Psalms chapter 37 verse 4. Some of you, this is your favorite verse. It says this: delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart. Now I want you to see the sequence in this. Delight yourself in the Lord, that's what comes first. And when you do that, He will again give you the desires of your heart. Delight first, then desires. You see the sequence? But for some of us, when we read this verse, we kind of skip the first one and we go to the second one. Desires, yes. That's the reason why we say it, desires. But the main point of this passage is delight yourself in the Lord. For some of you, we're living our lives like this. When we have our desires, then we will delight. right? When we fulfill our desires, then we'll delight in the Lord. You got it wrong. Delight in the Lord, and then your desires will be fulfilled, given by God. Now I question this. Why do we live our lives like this? Can we be honest? Why do we live our lives like this? And we can have all these excuses, inflation, so we got to work harder, do more hours and stuff like that. And because of that, I don't really have time. Or you could say, ever since I was a kid, this is my dream. I just want my dream to be fulfilled. Why do we live our lives like this? And the reason why is because our cravings and our callings, which one looks more pleasing? Our cravings. Your calling doesn't always look so pleasing. If you've been in ministry or if you lived out your calling, you know what I mean. That sometimes our calling is not the nicest thing. Can you imagine? You're called, they text you, can you come and rehearse on Saturday? But family camp. Right? There's a family camp, so okay, fine. You rehearse on Saturday, then they call you, you have to be here early on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Does that sound pleasing? Or does camping sound better? I'm being real here, am I? Think about it. I gotta take care of the kids. I have kids at home, and now there's kids there. There's no escape. It doesn't really sound so pleasing. Because our calling will always cause us to sacrifice ourselves. The Bible says, take up your own cross and follow Him. The Bible says, serve and love people, the same people that hurt you. It doesn't sound so pleasing. The reason why we desire our cravings is because with our calling as well, it's not immediate. It doesn't give you immediate satisfaction. It doesn't give you immediate results. But in our cravings, it gives us immediate satisfaction and results. Your calling also, it's not so appetizing in the world standards or what the culture is today. Can you imagine it? You're going on a date with someone and you're getting to know the person, and the person asks you, what do you do? I bet you will not say, I am in the welcome team. I say hi to people. That doesn't sound sexy. I play piano, right? It doesn't really sound so nice. I click the computer on Sunday, right? It doesn't sound nice. What you usually say, I'm pursuing civil engineer. Wow. Sounds so nice. I'm pursuing to be a doctor. Wow, I'm so attracted to you now. Even the same way, I would tell people, they talking to me and they ask me what I do, and I tell that I'm a pastor. And they look at me weird. They look at me wrong. You're a pastor. If I said I was an architect, they'll be like, wow, it tickles their ear. If I said I was a doctor, it tickles their ear. And in many cases too, I hear my parents, they talk to other people and they're saying, my daughter's, one's a nurse, one's an ECE, and my son's a pastor, right? I'm kind of at the end there. In the world standards, it's really not appeasing. Many times, your calling doesn't look pleasing. But your cravings, your desires, that looks so pleasing. Church, I want you to understand this. Don't pick something just on how it looks or just on how it feels. Pick it on how it feels. Instead of feels, how does it feel? I want you to see the difference here between your craving and calling. Your cravings, you always chase after it because you don't have it. And even if you get it, you will only be feeling something that will always be empty. But with your calling, when you go after your calling, you have it. See, your cravings, you chase after it because you don't have it. But your calling, it's something that you're drawn to because it's in you. There is something in you that is calling you forth to something else. It's leading you. See, your cravings, you chase after it to be filled. And as long as you don't have it, you will always feel empty. But when you follow your calling, you will be filled when you walk in it. You will be whole. You'll have everything that you need when you walk your calling. That's what I want you to understand. You have it. You have a calling, you have a purpose, you have a promise, and you have a plan. It says this in Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. It says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." In Jeremiah 29:11 it says this, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a bright future." Can I say, church, that is in you. That's in you. You have a hope. You have a bright future. You have a plan. You have a purpose. But for your cravings, you don't have it, so you chase after it. You chase after those things. See, many people are chasing after things to feel full and to feel whole. But with God, you will be filled. With God, you will be whole. With Him, you are set apart. And with God, you are favored. If you are favored by God, you will also be favored by men. You have it. Turn to someone next to you, tell them you have it. You have it. Saying you're not loved, you are loved. Looking for status, you're a child of God. You have it. And most of all, if you receive Christ, death is no longer on you. You have eternal life. That's why we celebrate. You have it. That's the difference between our cravings and our callings. Our cravings are temporary. Our calling is eternal. Verse 17, "And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who pleases God will live forever." I want an eye-opener today, okay? Because I understand inflation and all these things, and we're desiring stuff. But I want you to understand, fulfilling your cravings so you could be satisfied, it will not last forever. That satisfaction will not last. In fact, as quickly as it comes, will be as quickly as it will feel empty again. Instant satisfaction, but also instant emptiness. It's not gonna last. And think about it. If you ignore your cravings for long enough, it will go away. I promise you. It is not the end of the world if your cravings are not met. I promise you. I pray to God, God willing, this is not happening to any of you. But if you never find someone in life, it's not the end of the world. At least you have God. I promise you, if God willing, I pray this will never happen. But if you're never able to find a home here, it's not the end of the world. You have a mansion in heaven. It's only another option, but you choose it. Why would you choose something you crave knowing it will fade? That's my pastor thing for you. Why would you choose something that you crave knowing it will fade? You know what fades? What you crave. But your calling and what you do for God will always last forever. Whatever you sacrifice for the kingdom, God keeps it into account. The Bible says your labor in the Lord will never be in vain. Jesus also tells us, Matthew 6, verse 20 to 21, He says, "Store your treasures in heaven where moths and rust cannot destroy and thieves do not break in." Verse 21, He says here, "Wherever your treasure is, look, there the desires of your heart will also be." It also says in the Bible, "Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things you worry about will be added unto you. But you have to choose. And sometimes it's better to have unsatisfied cravings than unfulfilled callings. I'd rather have my cravings not be satisfied as long as I could fulfill my calling and as long as I could please God, because those things last forever. You have a crown in heaven. You have to choose. And my portion today, church, my portion is not in my desires. It's not in my wants. It's not in the things I crave. God is my portion. God is my hope. God is the one who gives me strength. And in Him, I put my faith. And when you put your faith in God, He will not let you down. I'd rather have unsatisfied cravings than unfulfilled calling. Stand to your feet.